Tom Vasel's top 100 games of all time. Some say that Tom is like a giant among men. Others say he's a little obsessed.
I don't even have a top 10.
Tom Vasel's top 100 games of all time.
Hey folks, welcome to my top 100 games of all time. This gets really exciting because now we are in the top 50 absolutely fantastic, wonderful, marvelous games, according to me. So let's take a look at these. We'll start with number 50. This one hit my top 100 last year and is still staying strong, and that is X-Wing the Miniatures game. Now I believe last year I said this was a tie between X-Wing Miniatures and Star Trek Attack Wing. As time has gone by, my love for the Star Wars universe has won out here. And with some of the recent additions, including the Corellian Corvette, and now they have a third faction coming, this has kind of shot up there. However, Star Trek, Dungeons and Dragons Attack Wing will have a pretty good shot at this one, I think, and they may tie next year. We'll have to wait and see. But I'll tell you why I like this system so much. I like flying the spaceships around. That's something I've always wanted to do as a kid, you know. I used to drive Hot Wheel cars around and have them shoot at each other. But there was no rules for that. I didn't know Car Wars existed at the time. And shooting cars at each other is cool, but an X-Wing, a TIE Fighter, a B-Wing, a A-Wing, a Y-Wing, all these cool ships, the Millennium Falcon, and it seems to just get better and better. A solid game, easy to play, can be massive or very small. Great game, X-Wing Miniatures game. Number 49 has been on my list for 10 years, and that is Shadows over Camelot. Shadows over Camelot is a solid game. To me, it's the game that did more for cooperative games than any other game. Lord of the Rings was the first major one, but didn't propel a lot of other games following up on it. Shadows over Camelot introduced the idea of a traitor, and what a great thing that was. This game is still being talked about very highly. You'll see it on the People's Choice Top 100 very high because people just enjoy it. I bring it out. Sure, the theme there is good, but it doesn't really make sense why you have to play cards 1 through 5 in a row and why you have to do this. But the card play is intuitive. Everything works. The components are beautiful. And it fits a large group of people and doesn't take forever. And it has immersion, allows people to jump in and or out of a game with virtually no problem at all. All those things make this kind of a unique game and one that I really rank highly, obviously, at number 49. Number 48 has been on my list now for 3 years, and oh man, do I like this game, Libertalia. When I first played a game called Citadels, where each person had a card, and they played these cards with special powers and interacted with each other, and you got to pick which one you're going to play each turn, it just blew my mind. I was, wow, how cool this game was. Libertalia took that and added a step to it. Now there was more than just 9 characters. There were dozens and dozens of different characters. And you had 9 characters each turn of the game, and you only have to use 6 of them. So you can keep 3, and then everyone will draw 6 new characters. But now I have a different 9 than you had, because we have the same 6 new ones, but I kept 3 of the old ones. And that continues on each round of the game. And they all interact with each other, has a very strong pirate theme, has great artwork. This game is phenomenal. Very much enjoyable. And again, I like this one also because of the wide range of players. It handles 2 all the way up to 6. Great game, Libertalia. Speaking of theme and how much I like theme, we then have number 47, a superhero game that is chock full of theme, and that is Sentinels of the Multiverse. When people think of superheroes, they think of Marvel or DC, mostly Marvel these days. But Sentinels of the Multiverse took the dangerous tack, which really is, of making their own heroes. Now that's kind of, you gotta be a little bit crazy to do that because people like to buy Spider-Man and Superman and Batman and all those folks. They don't necessarily want to buy your made-up heroes, but Sentinels of the Multiverse not only made up heroes and villains, but acted as if there was this big backstory with comics and things, and when you play the game, it felt like you are playing through a comic book. A great cooperative game, Little bits of bumps here and there in gameplay, a little fiddly at times, but none of that has really bothered me just because of the sheer amount of fun that comes from playing this. You want a game that brings a comic book to life more than any other? This is it. There's another superhero game that's going to be, or two superhero games that are going to be higher on my list than this one, but this one does the theme absolute best, Sentinels of the Multiverse. Number 46 for me is Seasons. Seasons was not a game I expected to make it in my top 100 when I saw it. Sure, the artwork's beautiful, little fantasy, cutie fantasy type thing. But when I opened it up and saw the huge chunky dice that were involved in this game, I was hoping, when I heard that you roll the dice and then draft them, oh boy, when I heard there was card play and you can even include drafting, which you should, best way to play the game, oh boy, even more. But just the way it works back and forth, it is phenomenal as a two-player game, but also works great as a four-player game. Each of the expansions has added some good stuff. Neither one is essential to the game, but they do add some variety, and I'm always glad to have variety in this. But it's the card play. Which cards am I taking? The drafting really brings it out. As you draft these cards, and then you're drafting dice, and each die you take gives you actions. Am I trying to get these resources or get points? And which cards am I going to play? And when is the best time to play them? A lot of thought in this game, and yet it isn't inherently heavy. You have to just know the best way to play it, and strategy, I think, plays a very solid part of this. A great game, Seasons. Number 45 has been on my list for 5 years, but is much older than that. It is now into its 20th year or more, and that is Magic the Gathering. Now, that's a pretty big jump for me to have it at number 45 on my list, and I don't play Magic competitively. But what has really put Magic up this year was in 2014 especially, they released several new sets. And I don't buy much of the new sets, but I get the starter decks for each of the sets. And the starter decks that came out this year are really well done. You feel like you're playing an extremely competitive deck. The decks have a really strong theme built into them, and they're a lot of fun to play against them. You buy 2 starter decks, you have a solid game. You buy 3, you have a solid game with variety in it. There's, you can play all different matchups there. You have 4, the variety increases. You have like 15 or 20 like I have. We just each grab a deck, and we never know how those decks are going to go up against each other, with each deck being different. Magic the Gathering is not a perfect game. I still wish there was ways. The draw 1 card per turn sometimes feels a little bit limited. You have these awesome cards in your deck, and you'll probably never see them. But this is the way to play with those starter decks. I don't mess with buying boosters and chasing rares and all that. Those starter decks, the dual decks, where they have 2 decks specifically made to go up against each other, are so well done. You buy some old starter decks, and it's kind of like, here, have a deck. Hope you can do okay with it. These starter decks are great. I'm not saying they could win tournaments. I don't even know that that's possible. But I'm saying that when I play them, I feel like I have a deck that was built to work together, and that makes Magic so much more fun. Number 44 is a game on my list for 5 years, Small World. Wow, what a game. And this game has been really helped by expansion. Small World is based on Vinci, which was a game about people fighting in the European area. And that was okay. I liked it. You would take 2 special powers. In fact, when I first heard about this game, I thought, wow, this is great. The idea of letting a civilization decay and adding another one. But there was some fiddly bits to it, and there was some powers that, when put together, were a little too powerful. Small World, by the same designer, fixed both those problems, added the Days of Wonder shine and special components to it, and then added expansion after expansion, and also added variable boards, so they had a board for 2 players, 3 players, 4 players, 5 players, and even now 6. And wow, so easy to play, so smooth. I can't wait to see what the deluxe version, which is coming out, will look like. It's going to be fantastic. But even just go out and get a regular version of this. You will not be disappointed. Some more expansions are coming out this year. Just more races and stuff. Lots of fun for everybody. Small World. Number 43, it's the first year that this one is on my list. And that's kind of a cop-out in a sense. It's Cash and Guns 2. But that's because Cash and Guns 1 has been on my list for the last years. Now, Cash and Guns 2, a lot of people were a little hesitant about this. The box was smaller. They took out parts of the game. There's a big difference between this and Cash and 1, the first one. Although you're still basically pointing guns at each other and demanding that the other person put their gun down. Put it down! Put it down! In this one, It's 8 players, which is really great because 8 players is a big jump from 6. With 8 players, they can play with a lot more people. They managed to fit, in my opinion, more game in the box. I like the change of artwork a lot. I know it's not everyone's cup of tea, that's fine, but John Kovalik, I like his artwork. People say it has Munchkin flavor, that's because he does the Munchkin artwork too. But I like it. It has a silly, cartoony look, which I think is a necessity for a game with a kind of heavy-handed theme in this one. If it showed gory shots of realistic people, I would be very hesitant to play it. As it is, and then they made it a deck of all different things that you're fighting over. It's not just money, and you then draft when it's over. And adding in the special powers, the possibility of expansions on the horizon, notwithstanding. Forget that there might even be an expansion. What's in the box here is a great party game. It always works when it comes out. I've seen it, everyone just have a blast, and it fits the 8 people just perfectly. Very fun game. Cash and guns too. Number 42 has been on my list for 10 years. I think it's been as high as number 3 at points, and it's dropped some because, well, I don't play it that much these days because of its length, and that is Twilight Imperium 3. Okay, I just was worried that the door behind me might blow open and Sam Healy come in and beat me with a stick because this is his favorite game, and I do enjoy it, and I'll tell you, it is grandiose. The only reason it's not in my top 10 is because of the length and the amount that needs to go into play it. But all different spaceships, different technologies, politics, assassinations, scouting missions, hiring mercenaries, building up planets, grandiose battles, Death Stars. Well, they're called War Suns, but they're basically Death Stars. Wow, this game was begging for a Star Wars overlay, and maybe someday that will happen. But for now, it's still the definitive space epic game. There hasn't really been another game that's really challenged it. There's been some shorter games that are fun, Exodus, Proxima, and Eclipse, and other things like that, but nothing has come close. They all bow down to Twilight Imperium and how fantastic that game is. My number 41 has been on my list for 8 years, and this is a game that sounds like a computer game, Age of Empires 3, but it is not. Or I think Empires Age of Discovery. Either way, whatever the title is, this was a game about colonization, or colonizing the new world. So you're different countries, and you're especially a country, you're a color, but you're a country if you add in the expansion, which is a great little expansion, and you're coming over and sending people across to the different colonies, but you do this through worker placement. And if you watch my worker placement list, you'll know this is one of my favorite worker placement games. It's so solid, with tons of plastic miniatures in the box, taking different spots on the different colonies, playing cards that allow you to do different things, or I'm sorry, not playing cards, but getting different types of workers. You didn't just have regular workers, but you have captains, and you have navigators, and you have missionaries, and different ones do different things, and you're never going to be able to do everything you want, and you'll upgrade buildings that give you special abilities, and money is tight, but you're trying to get money from getting different goods, and it's a Euro game, but it's a grandiose one, and the theme, yeah, some of the plastic pieces at a distance look the same. The board could have been maybe designed better so that some of the stuff could be more easily put on it, but that's minor quibbles. This is a solid game, and one I enjoy quite a bit. A very high recommendation for me, number 41, Age of Empires 3. And that is it for this 10. Now we're in the top 40. Bring them on. I'll see you guys next time. I'm Tom Vasel, and you've been watching The Dice Tower.
Tom Vasel's top 100 games of all time. Some say that Tom is like a giant among men. Others say he's a little obsessed.
I don't even have a top 10.
Tom Vasel's top 100 games of all time.